As a natural lifter aiming to build your best physique, it's definitely possible to feel like you're seeing steroid-like results, but you're going to have to optimize things pretty seriously in order to do that, and it can take some time if you aren't sure how. Believe me though, once you do, you will see some of the greatest gains ever, and you can expect consistent progress for years to come. But it's a lot more than just knowing your calorie surplus and protein targets. I mean, those are fucking basics that are easy to figure out. I'm talking about the shit that really takes results to the next level fast, specifically the right nutrition with optimized nutrition composition, with foods that maximize volume, satiety, recovery, and nutrient assimilation. I'm talking about timing your nutrition along with your schedule in such a way that's structured perfectly around your training and your sleep, ideally, and that's going to come together to make things easier along this process. Now, I'm currently hitting my stride 10 months into this bulk, where I've gained 15 pounds in that time. I've stayed below 15% body fat successfully throughout while adding 50 plus pounds on lifts, inches on shoulders, arms, quads, and feeling better than I maybe ever have on any bulk ever, and I'm 15 years into this shit. Now, walking through what one of these days looks like for me will hopefully give you some insights as to how you can optimize your schedule and nutrition to maximize your own results in your lean bulk. So here's the breakdown. Now, firstly, I wake up at exactly the same time, basically every single day, 7 days a week, and that's 7 a.m. Now, go back a few years on my channel and you'll see me waking up at 5, 4, even 3:30 a.m. throughout those years, and that was my main wake up time. And this is fucking hardcore, sure, but it's also pretty unreasonable, usually. The single most potent thing you can do to optimize your hormones and internal clock is waking up and or going to sleep at the exact same time, close to the exact same time every single day. And that includes weekends. If your schedule is too erratic, that's fine. Two things. Number one, do your best to get consistent on at least one of those aspects. And number two, find a new goddamn job in the meantime, because gains are life. Kidding. Not really. Anyway, seriously though, pick a reasonable wake up or bedtime that makes it easy to stick to. Don't overthink this. Now, after waking up, I chug 750 milliliters of room temperature water, and I get 30 minutes of movement in, roughly. Okay, now this is typically a brisk walk, but sometimes it's going to be a yoga style session, just some basic stretching, or even a jog. The key here is to get blood flowing, get you woken up for the day, and I also find personally it helps me stabilize blood sugar for the training session later on. Now at 8 a.m., it's time for the first meal of the day for me. Before I eat that, I do take my vitamins, minerals, including vitamin D, a basic multivitamin on top, fish oil, flaxseed oil, magnesium, and a few supplements specifically for hair growth as well. Now, by the way, the calories and macros on a typical day at this time of the lean bulk, which I'm going to be showing you today, is going to be 3,275 calories, 250 grams of protein, 400 grams of carbs, and 75 grams of fat. So yes, protein is currently at 1.2 grams per pound of body weight, since deriving some of the surplus from higher proteins could be favorable for body composition and satiety, rather than just stacking up way more than needed on carbs. Meal number one, 80 grams of high fiber mini wheat cereal, along with 1 cup of 2% milk, mixed with 10 grams of my All Max collagen. And this also includes biotin and vitamin C. And I also have 1 Builder's bar. So this is one of the protein bars I find at Costco. Now this totals 726 calories, 45 grams of protein, 110 grams of carbs, and 15 grams of fat. So that's meal one, okay? Pretty decent. I do split my protein up evenly between all 4 meals of the day to ensure a steady frequency of muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. Okay, ideally somewhere between, it's not mandatory, but the literature does show it's likely best to have somewhere between 3 to 4 meals throughout the day to maximize muscle growth long term. So between 9 and 10 a.m., I drink my anabolic coffee, as I like to call it, but it's not actually coffee at all. It's just a blend of All Max amino cuts, which is a small dose of natural caffeine with EAAs, L-carnitine, and more, along with their BCAAs, creatine monohydrate, and glutamine. I sip on this as I work for the following hour and a bit. Now, BCAAs and glutamine are absolutely not supplements anyone really needs. I personally, assuming that you actually get your protein intake and your sleep and so forth. Now, I personally take them because I'm sponsored by the best supplement company out there, in my opinion, and I have the luxury of using these if I so choose. So, for a limited budget, get your staple supplements instead. Your creatine, protein powder, maybe a pre-workout, intra-carbs, and EAAs. By the way, if you want to grab the highest quality, best tasting, and best price supplements on the market at a 15% discount, just use code JMangoFit at checkout on allmaxnutrition.com. Also, keep in mind, this is what a relatively typical day would look like during a week. It doesn't mean I do this exact same thing every single day, as that would be a little too robotic and boring. I try to do it 3 to 4 times a week, typically, at least. Now, Meal 2, it's at around 10:30 a.m. It's also the pre-workout meal. This is 3 large eggs, 2 cups of egg whites, 50 grams of red onions, 200 grams of apple, and about 2 of those instant oatmeal packets. I prefer the brown sugar. Now the total for this is around 894 calories, 81 grams of protein, 103 grams of carbs, and 19 grams of fat. This is about 2 hours out from my training session actually, so I prefer to go in with an empty stomach. Now, I add a good amount of salt into this meal as well, on the eggs, of course, and I have a black tea and a green tea I drink afterwards as well. I work up until about 12:30 p.m. and it's time to train. Now, you'll notice that by this time, I've consumed a ton of electrolytes, fluids, some soft forms of caffeine, not harsh, jittery sources, plenty of protein, and various types of carbs. I've hydrated the perfect amount throughout for my body during this as well. So I drink 15 milliliters of liquid L-carnitine from Allmax before I head out to my session, as I'm currently running an experiment to see what difference I notice using this supplement. And it's time to train. Now, speaking of difference, the difference I've felt from training early in the morning fasted, which is what I've been doing for the last several years, to now being well-fed and hydrated and training in the afternoon is literally night and day. No pun intended. If you can, lifting in a well-fed state will likely result in better gains long-term, but it's highly individual, and you can still see fantastic results fasted in the morning. I'm just mentioning what a difference it's made for me, and I think it's worth experimenting if you can. Now, to further maximize my performance, I'm sipping on 25 grams of intra-workout carbs, 10 grams of EAAs with nootropics, and usually a scoop of some pump products as well. After about 1.5 hours of training, I'm back at around 2:30 p.m., and I eat the post-workout meal. Now, currently, this is 1 pouch of pre-cooked rice, typically a blend that has high fiber, mixed with 200 grams of beef sirloin strips, some green olives, and 2 pieces of honey and oat toast with 15 grams of salted butter, 10.5 grams of pasteurized honey. That totals out to about 1,090 calories, 60 grams of protein, 127 grams of carbs, and 39 grams of fat. Getting in a ton of carbs immediately post-workout is a good idea, just to replenish depleted glycogen stores from the training session itself and jumpstart the recovery process, along with lots of high-quality protein, of course. Now, I usually add in a cup of mixed vegetables in this meal too, just for more micronutrients, although sometimes I leave it out. Jumping right into the last meal of the day, the big ass salad. This is a staple for me, and I highly recommend having these multiple times a week, ideally daily. It's only about 350 calories, but it packs a punch in many ways. So right now, it's 4 cups of the American Veggie Blend Salad Pack from Walmart. It's 50 grams of red onions added in, 8.5 ounces of seasoned chicken breast, and 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. This comes out to 336 calories, 51 grams of protein, 18 grams of carbs, and 3 grams of fat. Now, I eat this final meal around 6 or 7 p.m., which is 3 to 4 hours out from my bedtime, typically. Now, this is huge because it allows me to go to sleep without food in my stomach, which could disrupt sleep if you eat a massive high-carb meal right before. And the slow digestion of this meal allows for a slower release of the large portion of protein over time, even potentially during the sleep as well. This final meal serves multiple purposes in that it's got tons of vitamins, minerals, tons of fiber, tons of protein. It's low in total carbs and fat to avoid sleep disruptions, as I mentioned, and it keeps me super full for hours and ends the day easily with basically no cooking required. Now, the total calories and macros from all of my supplements throughout the day right now is about 185 calories, which includes 24 grams of protein and 15 grams of carbs, 0 grams of fat. Now, make sure you factor in your supplements because sometimes they can add up, especially if you take as many as I do at the moment. This brings the total calories and macros for this day in particular to 3231 calories, 263 grams of protein, 375 grams of carbs, and 77 grams of fat. So that's tons of vegetables, some fruit, lots of fiber, lots of volume, lots of protein coming from various sources, roughly 4 liters of water by the end of the day, which doesn't include the 4 teas that I have and the intra-workout fluid. And everything is timed according to my personal training schedule, preferences, goals, and practicality. I've been staying around 212 to 213 pounds even for the last several weeks, essentially main gaining to keep fat gain at bay. Now, once I start noticing a plateau in my training and or my physique stops improving visually and with measurements and so forth while staying at the same weight, I'll do a slow push up to another 5 to 7 pounds or so, of course going slowly in gaining that weight, and then I'll probably main gain there for a while. I've currently found the best way to structure my day for maximum training, performance, recovery, hydration, productivity, stress management, and sleep. All things that people don't often factor in, but if you do, you'll be feeling and performing as well as, well, I am now. But the chances are you're not 15 years into this game, so your results will be double as fast as mine. This can take a while for you, and it's subject to change, but the goal should be to work your way towards a point like this, and then ride that wave for as long as you can, until things inevitably have to change again. Either way, if you can dial in a structured daily regimen for at least 4 days of the week, now that doesn't mean that you just go off the rails the other days. I'm saying that it's just so tightly dialed in for at least 4 days. If you can do it more, probably better. If you can deal with the monotony of it, that's fine. And it's going to really optimize performance, recovery, of course, paired with a consistent, steady surplus over time that's conservative, with proper tracking of all the key metrics together, you're going to start seeing some of the craziest gains of your life. And by the way, if you want to get there way faster in the meantime, check the description. There's going to be links for everything you need, from my physique bundle that's free, my monthly membership program, my one-on-one coaching, and one-off programs. I'm sure you'll find something to help you take your physique to the next level. Anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.